Alrighty then, my Jedi and Sith friends, hello and welcome back to another Star Wars video. So great to see you here again. It is I coming at you once again, your friend and your favourite galactic hostess, Star Wars Meg, and today we're returning to Ahsoka Season 2. I want to do a deep dive into an aspect of the trailer which speaks to the show's most elusive mystery. You guessed it, Baylan Skoll. Roy McCann has some huge shoes to fill. Rest in peace Ray Stevenson, the gentle giant, as his co-stars called him, but so far I think he looks great. And what's interesting about Baylan in this trailer is how disheveled and ragged he looks. And I'm not just talking about the snow. I think it was Rosario Dawson who teased that there might be something of a time jump, and if that's the case then Baylan might have been on his mission at this point for weeks, months, or even up to a year. I doubt they would push a time jump beyond that. Ahsoka and Sabine, as the new synopsis says, are trying to get home, but Baylan stands in their way, because he's trying to do something that will affect the entire galaxy. And I suppose to an extent we have to see things from his perspective. The most traumatic event of his life happened years ago, the fall of the Jedi Temple during Order 66. We still don't know how Baylan survived, we don't know where he was during the Great Jedi Purge, but he managed to escape. Maybe we'll see that in a Clone Wars flashback, but in either case, we know from the dialogue in the first season that betrayal, that pain, very much still affects him. For years he was a mercenary just trying to survive, and I think he's finally found something which can promise him an end to that pain. An end to all Force-related affiliations, an end to all wars as we know them, and he's so passionate about it, he's doing everything he can, including risking his life, to find this mysterious power. And something which has gotten a few fans talking is the wording that Anakin uses when referring to Baylan in his conversations with Ahsoka. He says this: Baylan claimed to have knowledge of a power, one that could end wars. A lot of fans take issue with the past tense claimed, so instead of Baylan claims, Anakin said Baylan claimed, and a theory going round is that maybe at this point in the story Baylan has already died. I very much doubt that. And if that were to be the case, they would not allude to it in the first teaser trailer. I think Anakin uses the past tense because he's talking about what Baylan said in Season 1. It's a reminder for the audience, but also keep in mind that Anakin is a Force spirit. He's probably aware of everything that's been said in the first season. And with rumors that Anakin is going to fight Baylan at some point, it makes sense that Anakin is aware of his motivations, especially if they concern the Mortis Gods. And who knows, because Baylan said he heard about the stories of Peridea back at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, if Anakin knew Baylan once upon a time, maybe he was intrigued by these stories, and Anakin is remembering that. But I don't think we should read into this past tense very deeply. The million-dollar question we've had since 2023 remains the same. What is this power? In the past I've theorized about Abeloth, we've spoken about connections to the Zepho, ancient Zepho technology, but today I want to propose a different alternative. A couple of different theories that have been knocking around in my head, some of them are way more likely than the others, but that's the fun of speculation, so no more jibber jabber, let's dive straight in. The first concerns the origins of the Mortis Gods. Peridea, in some ways linked to Mortis. We don't know how exactly just yet. There were rumors saying that Peridea and Mortis are in the same galaxy, but the far more important question doesn't concern their location, but the role that Peridea played in the Mortis Gods becoming the Mortis Gods. I'm starting to think that Dave Filoni is going to draw from the Legends book, Fate of the Jedi Apocalypse, which gives the ones a far more elaborate backstory than what we see in the Clone Wars. A question fans have had since those episodes aired is, were the ones always Celestials? In canon, pretty much yes, but in the expanded universe, it's a bit more nuanced. There was a process that turned them into the Mortis deities we know them as today. By the time of Ahsoka, they're all dead. But I'm starting to think what Baylan is looking for isn't necessarily the mother herself, but the point of origin where the Mortis Gods got their powers in the first place. In this way, Baylan is not looking for a certain person or an omniscient presence, he's sensing a wellspring of power untouched for generations, something the Jedi Order had heard of but believed was a myth. And if you go back to rewatch Ahsoka episodes 6 and 7 and really listen to Baylan's words with this angle, it becomes far more plausible than you might have originally thought. Because think of the way Baylan describes Peridea to begin with.
This is a land of dreams and madness.
an impossible place from Jedi fairy tales that no one really believed existed. As a cautionary tale, the likes of Master Yoda might have taught younglings about it. He might have taught them about a wellspring of power from which the ones once drank, and subsequently they became the embodiments of light and dark, being held in balance by the father of Mortis. 1,000,000 years ago, mysterious beings who were thought to be able to reconstruct space itself lived in the galaxy, but they weren't always gods. There were 3 of them, who came out of a tropical planet: the father, the daughter, and the son. The ones initially lived in peace and harmony, in the home they built for themselves, but the father warned his children never to drink from the font of power. Neither should they ever bathe in the pool of knowledge. However, they disobeyed his orders. The son drank from the font, giving him incomprehensible powers through the dark side, while the daughter bathed in the pool, bestowing upon her great powers using the light side. The siblings then claimed areas of the jungle for themselves and started to fight each other, while the father tried to keep them in balance. And then one day, a young woman arrived on their world. She initially became their servant, catering to their every need. However, eventually she became known as the mother, and at first succeeded in mending the relationship between the son and the daughter. The mother also persuaded the son to use his destructive nature for good. She proposed he use his force lightning to carve new rooms into the walls of where they lived. Unlike them, she was mortal, and as a result, she grew old. And as the years went on, she was no longer able to keep the peace. The ageless children started to resume their fighting, and the force became out of balance. Neither the father nor the mother were able to prevent it. One day, while the 3 were fighting in the courtyard of their home, the mother was at her wit's end, and so she took a drink from the font of power. Simultaneously, she took a quick bathe into the pool of knowledge. The father tried to pull her out with the force, but it was too late. She had become corrupted. She had become Abeloth, who attacked both the daughter and the son. The ones then obtained help from the Killiks, and to protect his family, the father moved the siblings to Mortis. Dave Filoni might be taking this concept and adapting it for canon. Maybe Peridea was the original home of the ones. Who knows about Abeloth, but maybe this is the location of the font of power and the pool of knowledge. And when the Jedi taught this story to younglings, it might have been part of a moral lesson about corruption and greed, and for years Baylan assumed it was just a myth. As Baylan told Shin, in the ancient witch kingdom, there lay a power more powerful than the Dathomiri mothers. And this further begs the question of why Baylan wanted to work with Morgan Elsbeth in the first place. He might have heard that Thrawn was in Peridea, and so he got curious. He wanted to see if the second galaxy from those children's stories was real, and now that he's there, he's a believer, and he claims there's a power calling to him that has the ability to end wars. I think he wants to drink from the same font as the sun. He might want to cause a rift in the Force. Now that the ones are dead, he wants that power. Another theory is that he's seeking the world between worlds, but I want to throw you a curveball. What if there's a link between Baylan and Kreia? What if he represents a similar archetype? After becoming disillusioned with both sides of the Force, Kreia took it upon herself to sever the galaxy's connection to it. This would complement Baylan's idea of seeking the beginning, an end to the cycle. No more Republic, no more Empire, no more Jedi, no more Sith. As he said to Shin, if you live long enough, you see the same patterns repeat themselves, which is also why he said he misses the idea of the Jedi, but not the truth. He's given up on institutional Force religion, and by seeking this beginning, by seeking an end to destiny and the Force itself, he thinks he's going to bring about peace. This might sound a bit crazy, but the thing calling out to him might be an ancient being who tried to do the same thing, who themselves attempted to rid the galaxy of the Force's endless cycle of war. And another consideration, my friends, do you think Ahsoka might be aware of what Baylan is looking for, based on the story that Huyang told her a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away? He's old enough to remember all the Jedi stories. He's been around for 25,000 years. But seeing Baylan again, even if it's not Ray Stevenson, is so darn awesome. And Shin is after him again. He abandoned Shin, but another question is, what was Baylan's original purpose for her? In Season 1, after she asks if she too is a Boken Jedi, Baylan says no, you were trained to be so much more. So I'm curious to see how Shin plays into all of this. Lots of fun food for thought in this one though, guys. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think Baylan is after? And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and may the Force be with you always.